tell you what, when I went to seminary, it kind of taught us how to read the Bible. One of the things they taught us is hopefully what I'm going to teach you tonight, is this, that God's worked the same way. God, think about that. You know how your parents respond in a certain situation, right? So like, if you come home with bad grades, you typically know this is how my parents are going to respond, right? And so we kind of have that same sense with God. And so, but God works in these patterns. And He does things in the Old Testament that He repeats, and He repeats, and He repeats. And so what we get, and we talked about last week, how we saw in Genesis 3, that there was like this small picture of Jesus dying on the cross, right? We're going to get another picture of that. So there's all this repetition. And I don't know if that just like, you're like, that's really cool. It's almost like He knew what He was doing, right? Anyway. But there's this pattern. This is the pattern of the whole scripture. That was a bad joke. Man sins, but God intervenes. We all sin, we mess up, but God intervenes right in the middle of that. That's what happened with Adam and Eve, right? So they sinned against God, and they just saw it on the video. They didn't believe that what He said was best. So they said, no, we know what's best, we're going to do that. So what happened? What happened to Adam and Eve? They were thrown out. There was punishment for their sin, right? But they get thrown out, but what happened? God did something gracious to them, right? Okay, He gave them clothes. That was one part. What else? He turned Adam into a snake. No, He did not. That would be cool, though. Well, there were consequences for Adam's sin. But one of the cool things that God did, the thing that He was gracious was this. He said, one day, one of your sons is going to come and he's going to kill that snake. He doesn't say it like that, but that's what He promises. He says, one day I'm going to send somebody to fix your issue. What happens after that, though? Now, we're not going to, I say we're doing a study from Genesis. We're not going to read every chapter in here. We don't have time. We would never finish the book if we did. So we're going to kind of fast forward, but what happens after this? Do you know? Cain and Abel. Okay, who are Cain and Abel? Okay, they're the sons of Eve, right? Okay, and so how are they different? Do you remember what one did and what the other did? Cain was a man of the ground, so he worked with crops. So he was a farmer, basically. And Abel was he was over animals. Yeah. So Cain he raised wheat, and then Abel raised sheep. And there came this day, and they knew who God was because their parents had walked with God in the Garden of Eden. Think about that. Imagine that. That'd be crazy for your parents to be Adam and Eve, right? That would have been really cool. But they knew, and they brought a sacrifice before God. And Cain brought something. What did he bring? Just like something from the ground. So he probably brought like, hey, God, here's some wheat. I don't know. I'm not going to chase that rabbit. Just, Abel brought something else. What did he bring? He brought meat. He brought a sacrifice. He sacrificed an animal, which was of greater worth. And God looks down and He says, your sacrifice of an animal is worthy. And Cain, yours is not. Now, I don't really know why God preferred the animal over that. I think it had to do with Abel's heart and Cain's heart. And so what happened to Cain? He got angry. So he got jealous first, right? I mean, jealousy is kind of like a small thing, right? Just a little bitty jealous. But jealousy turned into anger. And it turned into resentment. And it turned into hatred. And what did it turn into? It turned into murder. So he was just jealous that God liked his sacrifice more. And it quickly, you read it, it's like one verse later, boom, he's killing his brother because he's jealous. And so this is the pattern we see in this part of Genesis. Sin just spreads rapidly. Sin just infiltrates everything. It takes over everything. It affects everything. It doesn't just stay where you don't put a fence around sin. It just spreads. It touches everyone. It touches everything. It turns from a little jealousy into murder. This is how God says it to Cain. It's Genesis 4, 6, and 7. He says, the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? And why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? So he says, if you do the right things, if you just did what I asked of you, things would be good, right? And he says, and if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Like, picture a mountain lion at your door. Sin is crouching at your door. It's not a little kitty cat, like waiting to be fed some milk, right? It's a mountain lion sitting at your door. Its desire is for you. It wants to rule over you. But you must rule over it. This is what he's saying. Sin is spreading like crazy at this point. I'll answer y'all's questions later. Okay? Sin is spreading like crazy. But you can't let sin rule over you. I want to illustrate it like this. So can we turn out all the lights? Can somebody come pull this plug? I'm going to turn out these lights. I know you're like a little bit weirded out. Don't fall asleep, okay? Don't fall asleep. Okay, yeah, all those. And actually, Hunter, turn those back on real quick. Hunter, turn those on. So what I did tonight, I had this little bottle. Yeah, leave those on, Hunter. I have this little bottle, and it says hand sanitizer, but it's actually not. It's glow-in-the-dark paint. And what I did tonight is I've been putting this on my hands throughout the night. I don't know if y'all noticed or not. Hopefully not. And so what I wanted this to represent was like Adam and Eve's sin, right? It's kind of small, not very big, just a little bit, right? It was just on me. I never squirted this in anybody's hand. Never put it in anybody's hand. I only squirted it on my hands. But then I touched you, or we've shaken hands a lot tonight. You've touched other people. And I really hope this works, because if it doesn't, it's going to be lame. But can we turn off those lights, Maddie?
Turn off the projector. Ooh, okay.
So I don't know if you can tell. You see my hands? You see my hands? You see my clothes? Now, can you see it on your hands? Can I see it on their hands? Come up here and see if you can see it on your hands. What I want you to know from that, though, is this. It's like, you may think sin is not that big a deal, and you didn't know I had that on my hands, did you? I mean, nobody, maybe a couple of you saw that before. But once the lights got turned on, once the lights were turned off and the glow lights were on, you could see it all over my hands. And so, sin is like that with us. It's like you may look around and be like, man, I'm really messed up, but I don't think that guy is. Or you may look around and be like, that person's got it all together. But the reality is when they get put up against the Word of God, when they get put up and their sin is exposed and you can see it, you realize, we're all the same. We're all in the same boat. Sin affects us all, and it covers everything. I mean, it's all over my pants, it's in my hair, it's in my ears, and it's all over me. And it didn't just stay on my hands. I only squirted it on my hands. And that's what sin is. It just spreads. It spreads, and it spreads, and it infiltrates everything. And like we said, its desire is not to be your friend. Its desire is not to be a pet that you take care of. Sin is crouching at the door, and its desire is to take over you. So I think a lot of us treat sin like, we treat sin like the people are going to treat sin in the story tonight. It's not that big a deal. God's not really going to judge this. God's not really going to come and deal with this. Because what did God promise them? What did God promise Adam and Eve if they sinned? What would happen? He said, you will surely die, right? And what happened? Did they surely die?
Yes, they did.
Not immediately. Adam lived over 900 years. Adam lived over 900 years. All these people did back then. Slowly and surely, it's gotten down to the hundreds. But they used to live for hundreds and hundreds of years. So imagine about year 600. I mean, I don't know, year 600, you get to Adam and you come up and ask him a question like, dude, I thought you were going to die. I mean, it really seemed like it was shaky back there. Like, God was really going to get you for that. It's like, it's 600 years later. God still ain't got me. Imagine year 800. Everybody's questioning, God didn't really mean that. But what happened? Is Adam here today? No. If God promises it, it will come true. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the flood. And so let's read it. Genesis 6, we'll start in verse 5 and read through verse 8. We're going to look at first God's judgment of sin. Things get bad. This is, this is probably almost 1,000 years after God creates the world. So we've skipped a lot. We've jumped quite ahead. It says this in verse 5. The Lord saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth. It says sin had spread everywhere. It was all over everything. And that every intention of the thoughts of man's heart was only evil continually. I mean, that's bad. You know, because sometimes you can do something with good intentions and maybe you still mess it up. He says all of their intentions, every intention of their heart, they just want to do evil. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. And so the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. Catch verse 8. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So God looks down, right? And he looks and he sees the world that he's created. And he sees what happens when sin has no boundaries and sin just spreads like wildfire. All of these people, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, how bad things must have been for God to want to look down and say, I'd rather just get rid of them all. Don't think that God wanted to do this, though. Because what does it say? What did it say about God? How did he feel? What did he feel in this situation? Lance? Yeah, he was sorry. He didn't want to destroy them. But why did he? Why did he have to? Because they were bad people? Yeah, Matt? Punishment, okay. EJ? Why did he have to do that?
He had to because they spoiled one public creation community. That's what it's all about. They destroyed one thing he was to be proud of. He made a beautiful thing.
So why couldn't he just look over it? Why couldn't he just say, it's okay. Not a big deal. Why couldn't God just look over that? Why did he have to do what he did?
There was sin.
Wait, because what? Okay, it would have just kept doing wrong. What else? Why did he have to? Yeah. Because he promised. Okay, if he's perfect, can he tell a lie? No, so if he said, you will surely die because of your sin. If he said, I'm holy and perfect and you can't be near me if you have sin, he's got to deal with that. But hear this. Because some people are going to, in your life, some people are going to look at you and be like, God in the Old Testament, he's just mean. He's just mad at everybody. He just wants to destroy everybody. All he does is go on these killing rampages. That's what some people think of God in the Old Testament. And in the New Testament, God is love, right? God is he just loves everybody. There's rainbows and butterflies, unicorns everywhere. And God just loves us. And he just lets us all do whatever we want. And in the end, we all get to heaven, right? That's what the world will tell you. But God is a God of love and a God of justice. Both of those things at the same time. And so when he destroys them here, we see his justice, his judgment, but we also see what? We see his love for us. And that's in verse 8 when he says, God saw Noah, but Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So think about this. Remember the story? God told Eve, you're going to have a son one day who comes and what? Crushes the serpent's head, who destroys sin, gets rid of your big issue. So imagine what that must have been like to be Eve, and to have a child, and be like, is this the one? Is this the one? Maybe, maybe not. And then once they have a child, wondering, is this going to be it? Is this the generation where he's going to come? And over and over and over, you get to Noah, and God says, that man is righteous. He hasn't done anything wrong. I'm not going to destroy him. So we see that God has a plan of salvation. Even when he's judging, he's going to choose a righteous person to save many. So let's read about that, God's plan of salvation in verse 9. So these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. That means there was nothing they could find wrong against him. And Noah walked with God. And Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. That's kind of all we know about them, right? We know less about their lives here in a minute. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt. He just says it. He just repeats it. It was corrupt, and it was really corrupt. For all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. So make for yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and out with pitch. And he goes on in 15 through 22, and he says, make the roof like this. Make it this long. Put this in it. Don't do this, do this. Very specific. And he comes to 22, and he says, Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. So what was God's plan of salvation? He was going to destroy them all, but what was his plan of salvation? What? The ark? Yeah. How is that going to be the plan of salvation? Okay? He gave some. He didn't give them all a second chance, right? But he looked down and he saw Noah and he said, that one is righteous. Now think about his family. Think about Shem, Ham, and Japheth. That's really all I know about those 3. They don't even tell us their wives' names. They just tell us the wives were with them. So there were 8 people on this boat. But the only thing we know about them is they were just family of Noah, right? Did they do anything to deserve to be on that boat versus everyone else? Not that we can really tell, right? They just were connected to Noah, right? Think about the specifics of the ark. God wants it very specific. Why did he do that? Why would God say, do it like this, make it this long, put this people on this, put this animals, all that? Why did he do all those specifics? What? So it wouldn't sink. Okay. So it actually would save them. So it wouldn't just be, they wouldn't be Jack, whatever. Think about it like this. God's plan of salvation is very specific. And if God's going to be the one that saves us from his judgment, he knows how he's going to do it, right? And so Noah could have, think about Noah, dude. I mean, he could have done all kinds of things, right? He could have made a boat however he wanted to. He could have, he could have brought, 4 of every animal. Or he could have brought, he's like, I don't really like the zebras. They're kind of strange. Like, you know, I mean, he could have done all kinds of things. But what did it say he did? He did all that the Lord commanded him to do. And this is very important. If God says it, then we should do it, right? Think about the people. Do you know how long it took Noah to build this boat? How long? Quick minute? 10 years, 40 days?
125
Does
years.
anybody know?
125
Josh Watson, how long did it take for Noah to build his boat? Aaron.
How do they know all this?
Because it says, this is how you're going to make it. The length of the ark is 300 cubits. Its breadth is 50 cubits. And its height is 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark. Finish it to a cubit above and set the door of the ark on its side. Make it with lower, second, and third deck. It gives all those instructions right here. I just read over it. We just didn't read it. So, it took Noah 100 years to make the ark. Okay? It took him, so he lives to be like 700 and something years. He didn't start this until he was 500 years old. Okay? I know that's like really hard to imagine, being 500 years old. Noah didn't start this until he was 500. It took him 100 years. Okay, think about this. Think about all those people. It says, we also learned later that Noah was a preacher of righteousness. So he went around saying this, God's going to judge us. God's judgment is coming. I'm building a boat because God's judgment is coming. Okay? Now, that may have been great. Day one, they may have been like, okay, maybe that's true. I don't know. Think about, maybe even after a month, they may have thought, man, maybe it's not coming. Think about after year 50. Noah's still building this boat. God's judgment's coming. You better watch out. I mean, you know he's getting made fun of. You know he's getting made fun of. Think about year 90. Noah's still building this boat. God's going to judge us. God's judgment is coming. There's only one way of salvation, and it's on this boat. I mean, you know everybody's walking by going, no, you are out of your mind. God's not going to judge us. God's not actually going to punish us for our sin. That's not the only way of salvation. There's no judgment coming. Does that sound really familiar to our day? It should. But Noah builds the boat. And guess what? The judgment did come. So let's read about that. Chapter 7, starting in verse 6. It says, Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came upon the earth. I told you he was 500 when he started building the boat. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came upon the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him went into the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Of clean animals and of animals that are not clean, and of birds and everything that creeps on the ground. Two and two, male and female. And after 7 days, the waters of the flood came upon the earth. The judgment did come. And remember what God had told Adam from the very beginning. What did he tell him was his purpose? Do you remember? God told Adam, multiply and fill the earth, right? Go and fill the earth with the glory of God. Go fill the earth. Like take what's here in Eden and go fill the earth with the glory of God. Go fill it with the image of God by making more of you. Go fill the earth. But what happened? Sin came and sin spread and it filled the earth, right? Sin all of a sudden dominated the earth. And so what did God do? He filled the earth, right? To go, waters, go fill the earth.